All right, Sam, you found out today that you got an A on your circuits. I said it right. Circuits exam last week.
I have trouble with that.
I am.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how I managed to pull that one off.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Appreciate it.
That's good. So, BB Nate, what did you do today?
I just interviewed the executive producer of every Batman movie since Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. He's kind of the father of the modern comic book movie.
Oh.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Sam, why can't you be more like your brother?
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a failure in comparison.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this along with Moon Knight and Superman and the crazy Star Wars Lord of the Rings mashup coming in June. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
We can't just drop that bomb about interviewing Michael Uslan.
I mean, we could.
Uslan. It's Uslan. He said it. I heard it. It's Uslan.
I thought
so. What was your favorite moment about interviewing this living legend? One of two people alive today who has actually known Bill Finger that's still alive.
That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I can even pinpoint a favorite part of this interview. It was overall fantastic. It was a blast. I enjoyed every minute of it.
All right, pull back the curtain for just a second.
Okay.
Were you super nervous?
Oh, 100%. Of course. I mean, this is like interviewing one of the top people of Batman of all time. This is a humongous deal, and it was my first solo interview, and so that in and of itself was crazy. And just to get the, I guess, reassurance of the fact that I know my stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool. Sam, if there was anybody like in you know how excited BB Nate was about interviewing Michael Uslan, right? Mm-hmm. Who was on that list for you? Who would be like you would feel that way interviewing them?
I think the first person that comes to mind would be Robert Downey Jr.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely Robert Downey Jr.
that'd be crazy.
What's funny is I was texting Nathan about this. I was at school one day doing some homework, and I always listen to music, and I listen to film soundtracks for most of the time. I was very tired this day at the moment. And the song, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the track from Endgame that plays during Tony's
The Real
funeral
Hero.
and stuff. The Real Hero.
Yeah. It's a great track.
Man, I almost teared up listening to it. I mean, it was tough.
Well, welcome to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture Podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by Rian Johnson, and to have the living legend Michael Uslan say that one of our hosts is a true Batman fan. He understands Batman. It's
good to know.
It was pretty awesome. We believe
crazy.
that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we're talking about Moon Knight and Superman, sort of, and
My joke.
Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker.
Spoilers.
Not really.
I'm David. I'm the dad.
Hi,
Dad.
And I'm honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons. BB Nate, your topic this week?
Just something feels off about Superman and Lois. It's probably nothing.
It's probably it's literally nothing. Samuel, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of can't help but feel bad for Steven after this first episode of
Poor
Moon Knight.
dude.
Yeah, it was a rough few days for
Poor
that
Scotty.
guy.
Yeah, I feel bad about the date that he missed. But anyway,
Dad, what about you?
I know we've been saying for years that Star Wars was going to fill in the gaps of the sequel trilogy to help it make a little bit better sense, but that new Luke Skywalker book coming out in a few months is taking this to a whole new level. We'll talk about that. Thank you so much for listening to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture Podcast. If this is the first time that you're listening to this show, thank you so much for joining us. We promise to talk about lots of fun things that you enjoy talking about, and we hope that you enjoy it and that you subscribe.
That's the goal.
Let's hope.
And you follow. And that was entertaining
Yeah.
That's always a plus.
and informative.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever meet that goal though.
We try to.
Yeah.
And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. We certainly do appreciate that as well. Please make sure you guys are following the show on whatever podcast app that you're listening to it on. Thank you to our sponsor, the Heroes Journal, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them in a little bit. We have some people that have joined our fellowship.
Yeah.
I think some of you know and some you don't.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that.
Interesting.
We've talked a little bit about it already, but a lot about it already, more than we normally would at this point. But it's not every week when you interview the man responsible for every Batman film and animated show since Tim Burton's Michael Keaton's 1989 Batman, Michael Uslan. He is, and BB Nate is doing his very first solo interview. I know he talked about that, but I was sitting over in the corner. Literally, there was a moment. BB Nate was totally focused on the screen and his conversation, and like trying not to shake. I could tell he was that nervous about it. I'm sitting over here in the corner watching it, and there was this moment about a third of the way in when Michael and Nate were having a moment, right? And they're having this like really cool moment, the conversation, and I teared up. I was just like, as a dad, it's like this is happening right now. It's so cool. So I can't wait for you guys to check that one out on Friday. But enough talking about what we're going to talk about, or what we even talked about earlier and what we're showing on the show on Friday. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that first episode of The Moon Knight is out, and it was something else to say the least. We'll talk about a few of the interesting points and what we think's to come next.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets. Your coming to us is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
Showrunners for this, the writers for this episode actually said that they had to fight to keep the date scene.
Why?
In that, because they felt like, I guess whoever was involved, editors or whatever, felt like it was slowing the story down.
No,
they were like, you can't tell the story without it. You don't understand Steven and what his life is like going through until he misses that date, and then he's like, screw it, give me a steak.
Yeah,
you know,
he's vegan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
great
with
scene.
that. Yeah. All right. Well, before we go any further, I want to get y'all's rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. One-finned goldfish.
One-finned goldfish.
Was it Gus?
It was Gus.
Gus was the name.
It's Nemo.
No, that's
go first,
that's
Dad?
a different one.
No, it should be Nemo though. You can go first, though, BB
Okay,
Nate.
well, I don't know. I was going to let you go first so I could think about it.
Dad?
Okay, I'll go first. I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
All right. I enjoyed it. It was a great setup. There's lots of room for future storytelling and development. And, well, I don't want to spoil because I don't know what we're talking about forward, but there was storytelling decision that was made in the way that they did this episode that just grabbed me, and so hopefully we'll talk about it a little bit. If we don't, then I'll bring it up. Anyway, all right. Was that long enough? Or did I ramble?
Great, yeah.
All right, there you go. You get to make a number now.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8.5. After seeing it twice, I watched it again with Mom a few days later. It still held up from the first time. I was able to focus more on it, but it's not like I really missed anything the first time. So, but you really can get into the story a lot more after you watch it a second time, and it moves fast. It's a very fast moving episode, but I loved what they did with it. It was fantastic.
What about you, Shmuley?
Yeah, I was going to say an 8 or an 8.5. It gave us everything you could want from a first episode, set things up well. It was a lot of fun, but there's still even more room for them to go. I mean, if this episode is this good, imagine what they can do later on. But I think you were kind of alluding to this, Dad, but they took an interesting perspective with this episode. This episode took place almost entirely from Stephen Grant's, that personality's perspective. You kind of talked about this, Dad, but did you like the way they framed this episode? What were your thoughts on that?
I loved the way they framed this episode. And when I said what I was alluding to earlier, thank you. I didn't even read the notes ahead, so I didn't know this was coming. You got my back, bro. The fact that they did not show us what was happening when Steven would snap out of the Steven character, and I guess is it Mark Spector that's taking over, or Moon Knight that's taking over?
Something like that.
Okay, we don't know who's taking over, but when the other personality took over, we never see that happening. That was fascinating because it allows you to remain confused with Steven, to feel his confusion, because you go from fear to all of a sudden everybody's beat up, fear to all of a sudden he's driving down the road, fear to all of a sudden he just shot somebody with a gun. You know, all these things are happening and you don't get to see what's going on. And that would be terrifying.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
People that struggle, I mean, obviously anything in this universe is going to be amped up to a 12,
right,
compared to what someone in the, you know, in reality, grounded in reality, deals with. But that feeling of terror and confusion that someone that's struggling with dissociative identity disorder goes through, that is really, really felt in this. And I loved it.
Yeah. Nate, do you think, well, first off, what were your thoughts on that whole
I love the way that they framed this episode. I called it from the first trailer that this was how they were going to be doing it, and I think it worked so well. I loved what they did with Steven. They made him such a likable character that you wanted to stay in his perspective, but you also wanted to understand more what was going on, and they alluded to that when he finds the cell phone in his flat or apartment or whatever you'd like to call it, and then he starts to see Mark in the mirror, and that whole scene, while scary, probably the scariest moment we've gotten in the MCU so far, at least I'd say. It was fantastic, and it showed Khonshu's power, I guess is a good way of saying it. So it was awesome. I loved it. I loved the perspective and everything.
Yeah, Nate, do you think they should continue with this sort of perspective, or do you think things will change in the future of the series?
I don't think they can continue with this perspective to tell the story of Moon Knight, because Steven is not Moon Knight. But I think that the fact that Steven is allowed to let go of control and is aware of his other personalities now, he's going to be able to see what's going on, because Khonshu is able to tell what's going on. Mark's able to tell what's going on when Steven's in control. So now that he's aware of everything, I think that they'll allow it to show mainly Steven's going to be where you're going through, but he's going to know what was going on through everything, and that's how we were able to see Moon Knight at the end.
Yeah. You know, another thing about this episode was we already have a very different tone in this series than anything we've gotten in the MCU previously. How do you feel about this new tone that they're taking with this series, Dad?
I want you to kind of elaborate what you mean by that when you say a very different tone. Explain what you mean.
Well, it had its, you know, typical MCU humor to it. It was funny, but it was pretty dark. I mean, at one point, Steven's just kind of standing there like, hey, I'm not sure what's going on. And then the next, there's blood all over his hands and there's multiple people dead, you know, and things like that. Everything is pretty dark, literally, when the Moon Knight scenes happen too. You know, it's a very dark, deep tone, especially with Arthur Harrow's character too, and the way he interacts, which we'll talk about later too. It's not your typical MCU story.
Okay. Nate, you're the Batman fan, which is, you know, a dark story, and Moon Knight is considered sort of the reflexes to say, well, they say that Moon Knight is the Batman of Marvel or whatever. So how did you feel about the tone?
I feel like the tone worked perfectly. It had enough humor to supply the MCU with the fans with that little itch, because MCU fans love humor, and that's what draws people to Marvel movies. And it worked really well in this episode. Steven was great, but I do think that the darker tone with that scene with Khonshu in his apartment building, that really showed what we were to expect. And then, you know, I mean, straight from the beginning, you understand that this is going to be a weird, dark show with the whole glass crushing and then him sticking it in his shoes. It's weird. It's cringe inducing. You can feel that pain. It's just like, it's really weird. Yeah. And it worked for the tone of this show, and I can't wait to see them dive into that more and more in the chaos of Moon Knight and everything as we get into further episodes.
It is interesting to think about that this series is going so much darker, and I think pushing to some extent it could, especially when you get to that end scene where he's beaten up the
dog thing.
I think that's like it's one of the Egyptian gods.
Yeah, exactly. So he's taking on that creature or that god or whatever. That gets pretty violent. And you're going to see more blood. You're going to see more dark in this. You've got that going that direction. And then we just find out today that Miss Marvel is going to be the first Disney Plus MCU film or show to be rated TV PG.
Oh, really?
So it seems to me like they're bifurcating the viewer audience to allow for different experiences based on what your likes are, and so that could be an interesting choice that they made with it.
Yeah, and Nate, you kind of talked about this character of Stephen Grant a little bit. But the Stephen Grant we got, and we knew we were going to get this, he's very different than the Stephen in the comics of the millionaire kind of Bruce Wayne kind of personality. He's just a museum, gift shop clerk. But do you think that this change of the character was a good / needed change for this series?
I do. I think that it allowed them to bring that humor in. I think that was important. And I do think that the fact of changing Steven to be kind of like what we said last week, being the everyman, being somebody we can relate to on the 9 to 5, the trying to make his way through life kind of guy. It helped us relate to him a lot more. But I do think that the great parts about Steven was the humor that he gave, because the confusion too. Oscar Isaac did an amazing job in this episode. But the confusion, especially during the car chase, was great. This just constantly... him throwing the gun at the car was hilarious. I loved it. That was fantastic. And when he shoved the cupcake in that guy's face and then apologized, that was awesome. And that kind of stuff is what made this show have its charm to a certain extent. And then right after that, he wakes up again and the guy is dead. And you're like, okay, this is still serious to the point where it means business. So I think it worked really well with Steven.
I do like Steven in this. I do like the humor with it. And I just think that we're going to see Oscar Isaac at his best in this, because it's the same actor in the same world telling the same story, but he's doing it from so many different perspectives and different characters. I've even heard some of the other cast discussing how he will change just one look on his face, and they knew which character he was going for.
That's incredible.
And so I think we're going to see something. Oscar Isaac, we've never seen a lead actor in DC or Star Wars television, which is cool that we get to say that stuff now, or Marvel or Star Wars television is what I meant, winning an Emmy for their thing. I'm curious to see how this plays out. But his acting chops are definitely going to be on display, and Oscar Isaac could win an Emmy,
at least be nominated
for this. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah. And Nate, you talked about this a little bit, but we finally got a little bit more info on Arthur Harrow. I mean, he's still very mysterious, but we've got some. I mean, the episode opens up with him putting broken glass in his shoes, and we still don't know why, but we find out that he's like the avatar for the Egyptian god Amit, which that was also a funny line. But this is the Egyptian god who judges the dead or whatever, and we know that Moon Knight is the avatar for Khonshu, right? But now that we have a little bit more on this character, do you think it's going to be a good fit for this series, Dad?
Yeah, I think he's going to be fascinating. I think it's interesting to see that we have a character in this who may have made an appearance in comics, but they haven't fleshed out the role. We haven't fleshed out the character the way that they're doing that in this. And so it creates, you can take the base of 50 or 47 years, I guess, of Moon Knight.
Dang.
You can take the character development of that character and of Stephen Grant and of Mark Spector and Mr. Knight. That's the other one, right?
I think so.
With that, you can take that and part of the story off of that, but then you have something completely fresh and new with Arthur Harrow, and Ethan Hawke is a tremendous actor. I mean, I remember every time I see Ethan Hawke, I've seen him in so many different things, but every time I see Ethan Hawke, I think about Dead Poets Society and his amazing performance in that. I don't think you guys have seen that. You guys need to see it. But I've just always been impressed with him, so I think he's going to be a fascinating villain in this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to see how his character is portrayed in this, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see the scales and everything. And I think it was alluded to a little bit at the beginning with the little girl when he was talking about the sarcophagus, and she was like, "How did it feel for you to be judged?" And he's like, "What? I'm not dead." And then the fact that he couldn't be judged.
Oh,
so he
yeah,
might not
that's true. I hadn't made that
heart.
connection.
And he says there's chaos inside of you. So either it's not being able to tell between the different hearts of the different personalities, or he's already been judged at some point.
Oh, wow. That's
amazing.
I'm really interested to see on how Arthur Harrow is portrayed with this. So
awesome.
And I think it's kind of interesting to know they're kind of pulling, the Batman with this villain in a way. He's clearly not much of a physical threat. You know, he's got a cane, he limps and stuff. He's not a opposing physical threat. Right, that too. Yeah, good point.
Good point, BB Nate.
He's more of this intellectual villain and threat. Do y'all like
psychological, intellectual, spiritual,
like
that kind of thing?
What they're doing with that?
Absolutely, we haven't gotten this in Marvel.
No, we've always gotten big CGI fights, which I'm sure we're going to be getting one in the final episode at some point. But I think that right now, having it be the intellectual battle between all of them is going to be a lot of fun. And I think him trying to figure out who Stephen Grant or Mark Spector or all Moon Knight is going to be an interesting plotline.
Now we've got all the pieces on the board, obviously, with the characters, but we still don't know what exactly the main conflict or threat is at the moment. We don't know why Moon Knight is going after Arthur Harrow. What do you think this main conflict or threat is right now?
I don't know. The thing is we don't know. But in this situation, it's okay to not know. It's the mystery behind it, which I think is what's going to pull people into this episode. This was a lot of setup for the characters in this episode. You had a lot to do, a lot to set up with Stephen Grant, a lot to set up with Arthur Harrow and Moon Knight and that whole mystery behind it. You had a lot to do. And so for them to not set up the plot but let you understand the characters, because you got to think this is the first time we're having a main character introduced through a TV show.
That's true.
So, and I know we've had other characters, new characters introduced through like Loki with Sylvie and Mobius and all that stuff.
Yeah, but this is we like to use this phrase, titular character.
Exactly. So we have a lot to do. We have to understand who this character is before we understand the plot. So it works better than, say, how I was so worried about Book of Boba Fett because I didn't know what direction the series was going in. But I can not worry about that with this show because I understand that it's supposed to have mystery behind it. So,
cool. I don't think we need to know that right now, but I think it's going to be. I think it's got to do with cosmic magic and some of that. And while it's not going to directly play into, or at least
chaos magic,
chaos magic. That's what I mean. You're not going to have characters and things from outside of this series coming into this series. We know as of this, I think they announced in an interview this last weekend, somebody, a showrunner or a producer or someone involved, or maybe even it was Disney Plus, indicated where this fits in the timeline. And it fits immediately after the Hawkeye series ends.
Really?
Okay.
And so I do think that we could see this playing into other things outside of Moon Knight.
It's already going to play into the Halloween special they're doing this year, Werewolf by Night.
Yeah,
that he was introduced in that series. If they don't bring him in, it wouldn't make sense. So
yeah. And my last question for you guys is, what do you guys think is going to happen in this coming episode now that Steven knows of the other personalities?
I think he's going to be trying to get used to them. That's the main thing we're going to be doing, because later on in the trailers we do see him smashing that mirror. It's probably because he was frustrated at whoever the other personality was behind that. So I think it's going to be him trying to get used to knowing this, getting used to Moon Knight, getting used to the fact that Moon Knight kills. I think that's going to be one thing that he's not going to be able to handle super well, because he is such a great and nice guy. It's going to be a lot. He doesn't like guns and that kind of stuff. So
I would love it. I don't think this will happen, but I would love it to see an entire episode where just Oscar Isaac is having conversations with Oscar Isaac.
They
and
only
I'm not
have 6 episodes, though.
No, but I think that we need to see him fighting and battling with this idea.
Will.
And I would love to see that whole thing. Like, he's learning from, like, Stephen Grant is learning from Mark Spector about the story of Moon Knight. Maybe Mark Spector is telling Stephen Grant in a mirror about how he becomes Moon Knight, and we get flashbacks that way. But really, the story is built around Oscar Isaac having conversations with Oscar Isaac. I would love to see that in the next one. Now that he's identified that there are these other personalities,
I think what we're going to get in this next episode is it's going to open up with him being chained to his bed, and he runs off the bed like we see in the trailer. And I think at first he's going to think it was all one absolutely nuts dream, just off the wall kind of dream. And then throughout the episode, he starts seeing in the mirror, Mark Spector, and he's trying to combat with that. So yeah, I think we're going to get both of what you guys said we're going to get. But,
very cool.
So far, I think it's safe to say that we're all loving Moon Knight.
Absolutely. Even Mom liked it.
Yeah, that's honestly pretty surprising.
I told y'all she would. I know my mom's TV shows. I am a straight record with her recommendations.
Yeah, this is true.
But be sure to tune in tomorrow to see what's up next for the titular characters.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
With that. Very good. Good segment.
Thank
good
you.
Segment.
Appreciate it.
That's good. All right.
I had to, try and catch up to Nathan, redeem myself as a son.
It's going to be hard to do that. The most terrible news in the history of Star Wars news happened last week.
Oh, wow. I didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, Moon Knight is actually controversial propaganda.
Really?
No way.
Yeah, and Superman is dead.
Well, that's part of my segment, Dad.
That's all next on Bad News.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, one of the coolest things about adventures are side quests.
That's a video game term.
It is, and they're part of the Hero's Journal as well. So what are some of the side quests that you're pursuing in your life right now? I'm thinking of one particular from this weekend, but you probably got others.
Okay, well, I mean, there was the Launch Society that you were talking, that I think you're referring to.
Yeah, so just explain really brief, like 45 seconds.
We had a 10-foot, 2-inch rocket that we launched this weekend that we've been working on for months. We launched it this Saturday, and it went to 6,400 feet and came down perfectly, no damage whatsoever. It was a perfect flight. One of the guys who's been
payload was deployed.
We think it collected data. We're not sure if the data was useful yet or not, but we're still seeing that. But I wasn't in charge of that, so if it doesn't work, it's not my fault. But one of the guys who's been doing this hobby for about a year now said that was the best flight he's seen in all of his time.
Wow. Okay, so you're redeeming yourself a little bit in that, Sam. I can be proud of you again. No, I'm kidding. I'm proud of you. And it actually bested Auburn University.
Yes, and they've got a way bigger program than we do.
So you guys are better than Auburn. Okay, well, that's all right. Roll Tide. Oh, wait, go Jags. I'm sorry. I got confused there for a second.
Well, you against the many, right?
Yeah, what are some side quests that you're pursuing? Things that are happening in your life that are outside of, the norm that you're going after right now.
I don't have much, but I mean, I guess one of the things is try to get through Dune finally.
Oh, you're trying to finally.
Okay, that's actually a legitimate side quest.
I'm like, comics are taking the priority as they always have, because they're comics and I'm trying to keep up with it if I can. But his writing is very slow, Frank Herbert.
Like J.R.R. Tolkien.
It is a little bit like J.R.R. Tolkien. But I mean, like halfway through the first movie, which is like, I have 2 more parts after that, so I have a lot to go. But I'm at UA's betrayal. So I have, I'm doing good.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and speak some of Michael Uslan's mother's wisdom over you. You're perfectly allowed to continue to read your comic books, but you have to read other things as well.
I do.
And you do. So you're reading Dune. Yes. You're also reading Michael Uslan's books and things like that. So that's cool. Those are good that's a good side quest. I don't know if I have a side quest right now.
Really?
I'm trying to think. Nothing. I mean, I've got the podcast. I've got 2 jobs. I've got, I guess a side quest right now for me is I'm the interim pastor of a church right now.
That's a pretty decent side quest.
Sunday mornings, I get to go to this tiny little Baptist church and share what God has been speaking to me over the week and what I feel like God wants them to hear. And it's been really fun for the first time in my life to be preaching, which is very different than teaching the Bible. Preaching is different. Preaching week after week after week to the same audience, and it's kind of helped me appreciate what pastors and preachers do a little bit more. And so that's definitely been fun.
Very cool.
It is definitely easier to slay your dragons when you're in a fellowship. We talked about that last week, and we have added some people to our fellowship. A few of them, some of you are already going in. You're downloading that free first act, and some of you are actually just going and buying. We're getting messages from you going out and buying your own version, your own copy of the Hero's Journal. I mean, you guys know about Ricky Pope from Christian Nerds Unite.
That's awesome.
So he's got his own Hero's Journal now. I started getting texts last week from Lucas Pinkard from the Reverend and the Reprobate, and he was asking about what are your side quests? Are you guys using this actual, because they have side quest cards?
Yeah, I saw that
with it, which kind of like will spur on side quests and things. So he asked if we were doing that, and he's like, I downloaded the first act. I'm starting with this. You can join us too with doing that, and by going to theheroesjournal.co/pages/Tatooine Sons and join our quest. You can download your first copy of the first your free copy. That's the right words. The free copy of the first act.
There you go.
And join our fellowship, and then check out Friday's episode from a couple weeks ago, our interview episodes with Nick and Kyle, and talk with them a little bit about that and have some fun. So can't wait for you to join our fellowship.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right, headline one, Ewan McGregor informs fans that Obi-Wan Kenobi is officially delayed.
Man, I saw the headlines for this all over.
Yeah, well, in what might be the most insincere clickbait headline we've ever seen, Inside the Magic is trolling Star Wars fans looking forward to the release of Obi-Wan Kenobi this May. Lucasfilm shared a video last week of Ewan McGregor informing fans that the premiere date had changed from Wednesday, May 25th to Friday, May 27th.
Oh my gosh.
That is
2 days?
terrible.
That's 2 days, folks.
I cannot wait 2 days longer.
It's not a real delay. And the video goes on to explain on the 27th, the show will premiere with 2 episodes. What's even more hilarious in this article, though, is the opening line of the article. And I quote, "Every Star Wars fan's worst nightmare just came true. Obi-Wan Kenobi has now been delayed." Inside the Magic, honestly, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Clickbait level 10.
If we're honest, though, this isn't good for us three.
No, because you two are going to be out of town. We're going to have... Not only do we not get to go to Celebration, but now we're not going to be together with Kenobi.
Day we leave is when it comes out.
We really need to go.
Skip the church choir tour.
We will, for sure. I'm gonna figure out a way for Sammy
we'll talk about it.
and maybe others to watch it.
All right,
definitely. Marvel suffers intense backlash over propaganda and controversial new series. Wow, there's a lot of like big trigger words in there. Not trigger words.
They're
like,
trying to hit their Scrabble points. They were like controversial propaganda.
One might think that this headline was an April Fool's joke, as the article was released on April 1st. But the real fools in play here are those who are trying to stir up controversy where there isn't really any. In the premiere episode of Moon Knight, the show's villain, Arthur Harrow, recites a list of humanity's failures. One he mentions is the Armenian genocide. Most people haven't heard of the Armenian genocide, unfortunately, because it is a horrible tragedy. And unless you're a part of a select few deniers who probably deny the Holocaust happened as well, this moment wasn't really considered propaganda or controversial. This gets a clickbait level 9.
All right.
Wow.
BB Nate.
Yes. The Flash test screenings may prove Henry Cavill has exited Superman and is being replaced by Sasha Cal's Supergirl.
What?
Yeah, it's a lot. Bounding in the comics is speculating on a cryptic tweet from Casey Walsh of the Gamers Worldwide that claims that the test screening of The Flash may or may not show that Henry Cavill is done playing Superman. And the article goes on to claim that there isn't any more info and that this could change, which seems like a great way to throw up a clickbait article and not have any consequences.
Yeah,
Jeez.
exactly.
This gets a clickbait level of 8.
Very good.
For sure.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
crazy.
All right, let's move into some Star Wars.
Yeah,
finally.
I know
feels like it's been a while.
It's only been 1 week, but it felt like a long time.
When you talk about Star Wars nonstop for, was it 4? 5
it was,
years now?
yeah,
4
it was
years?
weird. We've always been honest about how we aren't as into Star Wars novels as a lot of other fans and podcasts. But reading this excerpt from Adam Christopher's Shadow of the Sith, might change all that. We'll talk about some of the crazy revelations in it next.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
While you guys are on the choir tour and celebration is going on, because you guys are you going to be here for a couple of days of celebration? We'll be together during celebration.
When does the celebration start again? The 24th?
26th.
The 26th?
So we'll be together
there
a day.
one day.
Okay, so I'm
God,
thinking
I'm so
about...
bummed we don't get to go.
I know, but I think we're going to try to make some lemon out of lemonade. Wait, reverse that.
Lemonade out of
lemons.
There we go.
And I think I'm going to reach out to some of our friends who are at celebration.
Okay.
That get into these panels.
Mm-hmm.
And ask them to come on our show to do remote recordings talking about what happens in the panels throughout that
cool.
weekend.
Definitely.
So while even you guys are gone, I'll be doing interviews and we'll be doing some special episodes about Star Wars
And
Celebration.
you should catch up on DC animated movies.
And I should, except Mom and I might do something fun.
That'd be fun.
Because, you guys are gone. Who knows?
Y'all are probably going to go see Top Gun Maverick. Actually.
We are going to go see that because that trailer...
Gosh, it looks so
still
good.
haven't
And
seen
I'm
the new trailer.
we saw it in IMAX at Morbius, and my gosh, it looks so good.
All right, anyway, let's talk a little bit about Star Wars again. The last time we saw Tython, which is a central location in this excerpt, Grogu was sending some type of message through the Force to summon someone to come and train him in the ways of the Jedi. This ended badly when Moff Gideon arrived instead.
I was so angry when this episode ended.
Absolutely. And he was kidnapped. Later, we found out that the Jedi he was trying to communicate with, though, was Luke Skywalker. And in this excerpt from Shadow of the Sith, Luke is actually meditating on this same seeing stone when he is seemingly transported to another end of the galaxy. So, BB Nate, it seems that Luke is meditating on this stone sometime after the events of The Mandalorian Season 2. Do you think that Grogu's experience on Tython led to Luke finding this seeing stone?
I do. I think that, well, maybe. I'm not sure. He seems to have a lot of experience with it. Because if you read the excerpt, he's like, I've never used it for its real purpose before until now. So he's obviously used it many times before. And so, depending on what it is, I'm not sure, or when he found it. But I do think that it would make the most sense if it was after Grogu found it. But then again, I mean, it's common knowledge by Ahsoka, and she's left the Jedi Order already, so it's obviously commonplace for Jedi. But
you're jumping ahead, man. You're stepping on my notes.
What?
Yeah,
well,
that's okay.
I'm not like mentioning a ton, but the thing is Luke has obviously read the sacred texts, so he knows about places like this. So I'm sure he's known about this. He knew about that place in Battlefront 2 as well with the compass. So from the text. So there's obviously even the vague places that are known.
Sam Mando was told of Tython by Ahsoka, as BB Nate just mentioned. Are we going to see Ahsoka traveling to Tython to try to connect with any other lost Jedi?
I think that it would make sense for them to bring that into something like the Ahsoka series. Like you both have stated, she already is aware of it. And we know she's looking for Ezra. That's the whole point of the series. So it makes sense that she'd go to a place where you can communicate with lost Jedi. Plus, we've seen it previously in live action, so it wouldn't be too difficult to bring that in.
It's already been built.
Right. Well, that, and fans are already aware of it and exposed to it. So definitely.
Very cool.
That'd be crazy.
All right. So the location that Luke is transported to while meditating is the ancient Sith planet of Exegol. And so this excerpt, it's not right. Excerpt. It's hard to say words like that.
It is. Especially when you have dyslexia.
I'm not I'm dyslexic.
That's what I say.
Yeah. This excerpt from Shadow of the Sith seems to go to great lengths to make it clear that Luke is physically on that
100%.
planet. So of course we've seen this planet before in The Rise of Skywalker. So Sam, is this just another example of the Force time power we see happening throughout T-Ross, The Rise of Skywalker?
You know, I thought about that as I was reading this excerpt. You're right. You've got a point. No, I don't think. I think it is. It's just to a whole nother level. You know, at the end of The Last Jedi, when Luke is on, or he looks like he's on Crate, he's never able to make physical contact with Kylo, right? And I guess we think that in the Last Jedi, when Rey and Kylo. Oh wait, no, I'm remembering what you're referring to now in The Rise of Skywalker when they're having that fight.
I was wondering if you're going to get there
among their. Yeah, sorry, I haven't seen that movie enough times, so it took me a second. No, I that's actually a good point. I think it is, and I think the fact that he's using the Seeing Stone is enhancing it to a whole nother level, and maybe that's why the weird. I don't know, the creatures that are on there, the Wraiths is what they're called, don't travel over to Tython, because in The Rise of Skywalker, we see them both in both locations when they're fighting. In this case, we just see Luke over in Exegol. But I think that's a good point. This could be a way to explain how that power works, and we know it worked between Rey and Kylo because they're this dyad. Well, Luke isn't a dyad with anybody. But with the stone, the power might be.
I hadn't thought about the connection to the end of The Last Jedi, though, when he projects himself in that, and he's sort of sitting on what might be a sacred Seeing Stone.
That's true.
On Ahch-To. Maybe that's another connection that we hadn't thought about. BB Nate, one of the most overused criticisms of The Rise of Skywalker was that the Emperor just suddenly reappears without explanation. But immediately after Poe infamously says, "Somehow Palpatine returned," Beaumont, who plays a critical role in the canon story of Tribbles the Porg, is told in Star Wars Adventures 27 through 29. Obviously, he says, "Dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew." We've believed for years now that the post-sequel trilogy content would fill in the gaps in the story. So do you think we see a lot more Palpatine and Sith in the future?
I'm not sure if we see it. I don't think we see it in like TV or movies or anything. I do think we would see a lot of it in books, maybe even comics. I could see a comic series being made about this, like the Knights of Ren comic series. I wouldn't be surprised to have this book that we're reading here cause a spin-off maybe of learning more about Exegol, because that feels like the main goal of this book is to talk more about Exegol.
Yeah, and to fill in the gaps on the story of Ochi of Bestin.
Yeah,
Would you guys see the cover art on that?
I did. It was awesome cover
art. There's
Ochi's looking freaking cool.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited for it. I think that we will be seeing more Palpatine and these other Sith things in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think that there are gaps that need to be filled in, and as they've done previously, they fill that in through books oftentimes. And this novel seems to be filling in more crucial questions that fans have had ever since this movie. So definitely.
All right. So for any of us who are Lord of the Rings fans, and if who isn't a Lord of the Rings fan, you should be Lord of the Rings fans. But anyway, Luke's confrontation with the 9 undead Sith with crazy lightsabers is both very familiar and exciting.
Yes.
With it. So, BB Nate, what did you think about Luke's inability to see these wraiths through the Force?
I think it just shows that I personally think they're like Sith ghosts. We have Force ghosts of the Jedi. Obviously, that comes into play in this excerpt a little bit later. But I really do think that this could be Sith ghosts, and that's why he's not able to see them through the Force. And honestly, this is just a credit to the writing. The whole lightning strikes, changing the colors and the way that he sees the wraiths just every time they happen and everything, that was awesome. And it made me feel the fear of these wraiths. They're
Plus,
white,
that's just
black,
brilliant writing.
Yeah, it was great and fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they're doing. And the fact that he can't see them through the Force adds more terror to whatever these creatures are.
Yeah, I don't think they're Sith Force ghosts, because we've gotten that before with Darth Bane, and we know that Sith Force ghosts do exist. They're just usually confined to an object or a place. Darth Bane was that tune.
I mean, they could be confined to Exegol. That's why they have traveled.
That's true. Yeah. And then what was that? The Sith in the Darth Vader comics.
I don't remember.
I remember who you're talking about.
That was kept in the mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've had that before. But I still even think they were able to sense them through the Force. I mean, these are an absence of anything, the Sith is just an overwhelming presence of the dark side, so I think this is something else entirely. As to what that is, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to just pick up the book.
We will. I have a feeling we will. But anyway, Sam, this event could feel like either an homage to Lord of the Rings or a ripoff of it. As the resident Lord of the Rings super fan, I mean, BB Nate, you love it too. I'm not trying to say you don't. But anyway, your segment doesn't begin with the Lord of the Rings theme. No. So anyway, what did you think when you read these moments?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I think it is definitely an homage. There's no reason why you'd put specifically 9 of them on there. I mean, come on. Right. That number.
As soon as that happened, I'm like, all right. We're going there.
No, I think it's definitely an homage, and I think it works. Now, if you start getting into the backstory and it starts feeling just like the 9 men who are given the rings, then it starts to kind of feel like a ripoff. But I think at this point, it's just an homage with them not being able to be touched and how under certain conditions they look different, or their weapons look different. Which the description of those lightsabers is awesome.
100%.
It's so cool.
They kind of feel like dark sabers. Did you get that visual in your mind?
I did get that vibe from the white and the black.
Yeah, but they invert in the lightning. Yeah. No, I think that it is a great homage, but I think that upon learning more about them, we'll find that they're not just ring wraiths.
I think that they're going to be interesting bad guys. I think that they're going to be a huge part of this book, and how the story is going to be told, because they're obviously important enough to be the main point of the excerpt. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how these tie into Exegol, since they were never mentioned or seen or anything in Rise of Skywalker, and they're obviously an important part of this.
That's true.
Maybe they're kind of like I guess Dad will get this, the black racer of Exegol and the Force, because Luke was messing with the Force, went to Exegol, and they were there to destroy him. So maybe it was because of that, and
who knows? Or maybe this other character that shows up has something to do with what's going on.
Just set it up for me.
It's hard to put into words the different thoughts I have about a Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker fighting alongside his son Luke against supernatural Sith warriors. When that happens,
I jumped out of my seat. I literally got up. I was like, no way, they did not just do that.
I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, Sam, does bringing Anakin back as a Force Ghost to fight with Luke help or hurt either character?
I don't think it hurts either of them by any means. With the Kenobi series coming, and we know we're getting more Hayden Christensen as Vader, I think it only makes sense that they start bringing back this character of Anakin into the canon. We haven't gotten anything with his character since episode 6 in any way, really, except a mention of him as grandfather in the sequel trilogy. So I think it makes sense that they start to bring him in as a central character in a way. And I get the impression from this that Luke hasn't seen him since episode 6, because his first thought is Ben, if you read spoiler. Yeah. So I think this is the first time he's seen his father since episode 6. And I think there's going to be a lot of difficult conversations there and stuff. Because it's going to be a little awkward. But I think it's good that they're bringing this character in, because it's important. He's the main character of...
You can't have a Skywalker saga without Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. So I really like that they're bringing it in.
I'm really excited that they're bringing Anakin back. I was so excited to read that. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this character. I thought that the description of him with his hood up and the lightsaber was so cool how they described it. The transparent blue. It was more like he was holding pure kyber in his hands without a hilt. And everything about it was awesome. I cannot wait to see more.
And they even mentioned he held it horizontal to the ground, which is what he does in the movies too.
It's That's awesome. BB Nate, there have been rumors that Hayden Christensen will be returning as Anakin in more than just Obi-Wan Kenobi. Would you like to see this idea explained further? What we just read, this idea explained further in Ahsoka.
I would love to see it. And the fact of the casting announcement for Hayden in Obi-Wan and Ahsoka is very telling, because when they announced it for Obi-Wan, they announced Hayden Christensen will be returning as Darth Vader. But when they announced Ahsoka, they said he'll be returning as Anakin Skywalker. So it's very interesting how they changed those two casting announcements, and I do think that
the timing of Ahsoka
works perfectly.
Could be right along timing of this moment, and you could see Force Ghost Anakin fighting alongside Ahsoka.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be incredible
in Ahsoka. And if that happens,
I don't know.
I'm 47 years old. I've lived a good life.
Right. I think that Ahsoka will be the definitive series for those that enjoyed the prequel trilogy and Clone Wars. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is great. I'm excited about it, but it'll be great for Obi-Wan Kenobi fans. I think Ahsoka will be great for anything else.
Yeah, I think that'll also help bridge different generations of fans. It's taking place in a semi-rebel storyline.
Yes, it is.
You've got a prequels character who showed up in the original trilogy after it was fixed, along with a character from the animated shows set in the sequel trilogy.
Is it at all? This just hit me. Is it at all possible that in Ahsoka you see Force Ghost Anakin with Ahsoka on one side and Luke on the other, fighting 9 Sith Wraiths?
Just do this for me. Throw Ezra in there, and I am set. You throw Ezra in that, it's Avengers Assemble.
I was gonna say it's the portal
Star Wars. This connects everything. Star Wars, that connects everything.
It does. There's a lot of lore and legend hidden out in the Rise of Skywalker that seems to be getting placed front and center in the Shadow of the Sith novel.
Again.
As you can tell, we've become very excited about this novel. It releases on June 28th. It's definitely going to be something that I'm going to consider picking up. So, all right, I'm going to take a second to breathe.
We got some movies to talk about.
Some movies. The special effects and camera tricks will be center stage in this week's new movie releases. Animation rules. The new trailers released last week. And the Batman just keeps overperforming. That's all next on Movie Moments.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge.
Well, 2 new releases this weekend, which is great. The first one is Ambulance. It's about 2 desperate brothers attempt a robbery. I don't think they're actually brothers. I'm not sure. They attempt a robbery in order to pay for their
brother from another mother
health care. They are brothers. The job goes south. During their escape, they steal an ambulance, but things only get worse when they discover it's occupied by a dying heart patient.
That's right.
Interesting plot.
Wow, Dad. You get on to us for hitting our mics, and then you go over here and give it a full-on uppercut.
The director is Michael Bay. Who admitted this week that he made too many Transformers movies.
He's right.
He said after 3 he should have stopped, and then he made 4, and then he just got too bad at that point. But the cast is Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't ever remember how to say
Maggie's brother.
Yeah. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Isaac Gonzalez. The studio is Universal, and it is rated R for intense violence, bloody images, and language throughout. Going yes or no?
I mean, it's a Michael Bay film, so you know what you're getting out of it. And he discovered this new technology of drones, and there's like 48 shots in just the trailer. But I think it looks fun. It looks interesting. It's a mindless couple hours of action.
I don't care if I see it. If I decide to go to a movie and we see it, then I'll see it.
That's my thoughts.
Well, I'm already seeing it. So
yeah, you got some friends that you're going to go see it with.
Yes.
So. Cool.
So that should be fun. This next one, I am... Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. When the manic Dr. Robotnik returns to Earth with a new ally, Knuckles I forget how to say that.
Echidna, I don't know.
What the heck is that word?
Echidna. I don't remember. I don't play Sonic. Sonic and his new friend Tails is all that stands in their way. The director is Jeff Fowler. The cast is Ben Schwartz, Idris Elba, Colleen
O'Shaughnessy.
O'Shaughnessy. That is one heck of a last name.
That's Irish, right?
And Jim Carrey.
And this will go down as Jim Carrey's last movie because he says he's not making any more movies now.
Okay.
It's his last film.
And Echidna it looks like this. It's kind of like a porcupine hedgehog looking.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the studio is Paramount and is rated PG for action, some violence, rude humor. Oh no, and mild language.
Oh
no. Going yes or no? No. We didn't even see the first one. But honestly, if they kept the original design from the trailer for the first one, I probably would have watched the first one.
Why?
Because it was terrible. They had to change the design halfway through.
So it was terrible, so you would watch it?
Yes, it was so bad it was good.
Speaking of terrible movies.
Yes, the new new trailers. Bob's Burgers finally released a trailer that showed us what the plot is going to be about.
And what are your thoughts, BB Nate, movie guy?
It looks like a movie. Honestly... It looks like it'll be great for those who enjoy the show, but otherwise, it's not going to pull in a lot of box office intake. Minions: The Rise of Gru
probably should have gone straight to streaming.
Looks like a lot of fun.
Really?
It looks really good. I'm interested in it. It looks like it has like even a mix of like Kung Fu Panda at the end, which you'll understand if you watch the trailer. It looks really weird, but good. Box office results this weekend. Morbius, of course, won the box office with a good intake of 39 million domestic with that terrible Rotten Tomatoes score. 84 million worldwide.
And we didn't talk about it this week, even though we plan on talking about it because Shmuley was busy launching rockets into space.
Yes, it wasn't anywhere close to space.
He didn't get to see it. BB Nate and I have seen it. We have lots of things we want to talk about with this movie. It's not nearly as bad as the critics' ratings are.
Here, do you want to give a quick rating real quick?
I would give it exactly what you see Rotten Tomatoes, the audience rating is 7 out of 10. I'd give it that. If you liked 90s and 2000 comic book movies before Marvel sort of created their own formula, this is fitting in with that perfectly.
But not Daredevil.
And it's a lot of fun. No, it's a lot better than Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. We don't talk about that. Okay. The Lost City made 14 million domestic.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all for a second weekend. 61 million worldwide, which is somehow a lower intake than Morbius's worldwide in one weekend. That's interesting. The Batman, still with the 10 million domestic over a month after its release. That is so strong. And it finally crossed 700 million, but is that 710 million worldwide, which is crazy because it's already beat the domestic gross of Joker, which made 1 billion. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's incredible.
It is.
Very cool.
Yes, it's up to me.
Keep going.
The next one, Lois is back this week with a punch,
you
but
forgot
something feels like it's missing. Probably the lack of Superman.
So now you guys know what it feels like.
I see what that is.
Yeah. How does it feel?
Yeah. Let's get into this episode and how it was just okay.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
So Samuel, you're BB Nate.
I'm BB Nate.
You're Samuel. You're the Boba Fett fan.
I am wearing the Book of Boba Fett
I've even
shirt
forgotten
today.
who you are in this point.
It's because Nathan. Yeah, I understand. It's fine.
BB Nate doesn't feel comfortable with you talking like that. So Samuel Hutt, do you think this is what it feels like for us? We feel what you felt with Boba Fett?
At least a little bit. Good grief.
The difference is this show hasn't been that great this season with Superman. So anyway,
or with the lack.
It's been
of
okay.
Superman. It's been fine.
Okay.
That's the one way to sum up this season so far is. It's okay. It's a good way.
It's a season 2. It was like season 2 of The Flash.
The problem is with The Flash, you can make fun of it. You can't make fun of this somehow.
It's too serious.
It's too serious to make fun of this. But for this episode, Reign of the Supermen kind of seemed.
It did feel like that.
Be the big influence. It felt a lot like Reign of the Supermen storyline. With Superman now gone, others have to take his place. Steel or John Henry Irons was a strong part of this episode. Per usual.
He was gone for a couple episodes.
He was, and those episodes started to feel bad, but he's actually a great actor, and he does probably one of the strongest performances behind Tyler Hoechlin in this show. And his scenes as both John and Steele were well done, and it made the episode feel like the Reign of Superman storyline even more. And with the return of Superboy, kind of the first appearance, it made the whole episode come together with that ideology. Now, Sammy, you've seen the Reign of the Superman animated movie, right?
I believe so. Yeah, it was a while ago.
It was a long time ago. I remember I watched it with you the day it came out. I think Meemaw and Papa were actually in town, and I'm just like, I found a way to get out of there. We both did, and we watched it.
Yeah.
You needed a break?
No, I just needed to watch this movie. I was looking forward to it because I loved Death of the Superman. So
yeah. No, it is definitely a really cool storyline, and you really liked the storyline in the comics, but it's cool to see the different versions of Superman and the struggles that come with it. At least in the movie, Superboy he's a clone, right?
He is, yes.
And he finds that out, and he's got to struggle with his identity and things like that. And you've got Steel and stuff like that. So it's a neat storyline to see that happening, and it's kind of cool that they're bringing it into this show as well to some extent.
It's like they somehow kind of skipped over Death of Superman. They kind of brought it back at the end of the episode. But Dad, you had the Reign of the Superman comics
until somebody lost them.
Yeah, until wherever they are. But what are your thoughts on the slight adaptation?
They're in the
show
Speed
now?
Force.
Yeah, they are in the Speed Force.
Okay.
They're lost. Like Wally West should have been in the Flash.
That's
so
it.
I'm still not happy about that.
What are my thoughts? Is that what you're asking?
What are your thoughts about it being adapted into the show?
I was watching this thing, and you get Jordan, who's got his superpowers, and he goes and uses them, and then you've got John Henry, and they're doing it in the absence of Superman. And I paused the show when we were watching it and said, "All right, this feels like Reign of the Superman, which that's cool. I'll take that."
Yeah.
The problem with that is the Reign of the Superman story is it has more weight because Superman is dead.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Superman is gone, or why Superman is gone in this. They just know he's gone. And you've got Lois, and you've got Jordan, and you've got Jonathan, and you've got General Lane. I don't know what his name is anyway.
Okay.
They all are aware that Superman went into this other dimension or whatever, the Bizarro world, and then he isn't back, but they all have this hope that he's coming back.
Yeah.
The weight of when you see Cyborg Superman and you see John Henry take on the Steel persona, and you see Superboy and all of this stuff happening in that, it's happening because the world needs a Superman and we're desperate for it, and everybody knows it. They tried to bring that in this, but it just fell flat because there wasn't the emotional content.
It didn't have the weight of Superman's actually gone. Yeah, I agree with that. Now let's talk Superman's death-ish, something. With Superman going to the Bizarro world or mirror dimension, we find out that he is dead from Superboy. And that can't be right. So Superman isn't dead. We know this. So, Dad, why did Superboy say he was, and that Superman was too late and all of that?
That's a great question. I think I am under the assumption that Bizarro Jonathan Kent.
Okay.
All right. Is that who that is that comes through? Bizarro Superboy or whatever. And now I'm thinking about that, and I'm wondering what's going on. Anyway, I think that he believes Superman is dead in that world.
I think he does,
with it. And I think that we're going to potentially see that play out very similar to what we saw with Bizarro in this world happening with Superman in that world. And that type of scenario playing out. So I do wonder if we not only get to see, because you can't have Superman and Lois without Superman, although they tried to do that with this. Eventually Superman's coming back. So I wonder if that means that we see Bizarro coming back as well somehow.
Maybe.
Because in the comics, Superman doesn't actually fully die. He comes back. So we'll see if that happens.
Yes. For the next episode, we got a little clip for the next episode, which comes out in 3 weeks.
Sam, did you see it?
I definitely did not see it.
It was a fun clip, and it looks like the next episode, at least, will completely be set on the mirror world or the Bizarro dimension. Now, Dad, what do you think about this choice? We're not 100% sure if it's following Bizarro's life before he came over or before Ali took over that world, or if it's just Superman in that dimension. We're not sure because it looks like Superman's living his best life up on there. So, Dad, what do you think?
Well, I haven't seen the clip. So I have to just by my gut instinct with this. And the answer is I don't care as long as they're Superman, which I think that's the way it's going to be. Because Superman and Lois is better when Superman's in it.
And it looks like Lana's getting married in the clip, which means
she means married to Bizarro. Talro. Oh, that's right. This is just
so it's
going
to be strange.
All right, Sam, what do you think about Lana Lang marrying Talro?
That's weird, man. I would have never shipped those two.
Right?
He has no idea.
Nope. I got no.
So to cap off this little part, Dad, episode rating out of 1 to 10 burnt waffles, which
5.
I'm not sure how you burn waffles. I'm sorry.
I could do it.
But Natalie did.
Natalie, she sure did. Like 6 waffles were burnt.
Because she was sad.
It's because she was sad.
Yeah.
And she was really angry at her dad, who's having memory problems, forgetting about her.
No, we'll talk about that. But anyway, I would give it like 5. I mean, it was fine. They tried to do Reign of Superman without the emotional weight of the Reign of Superman, and it would have worked had we thought Superman was dead. Throw the death of Superman stuff at the end, at the beginning, and then now suddenly the weight comes, except the world still doesn't know, and that's what makes it hard.
It's hard, yeah.
So what would you give it?
I'm going to give you 6, because I agree with you about the weight, because they understand in comics that if you're going to kill somebody off, you need people to know that they're gone. Like in the Final Crisis storyline, Dick Grayson has, I gotta take up the mantle of Batman now, and then you had the Blackest Night happen right after that, and it's the weight of everything is what makes it good. So not having that was a little off.
Okay, well, I think it's a good spot for me to throw in a dad moment.
Probably.
I am your father.
I mean, we joked a lot about the fact that Superman is seemingly absent from Superman and Lois in this episode, and Samuel the Hutt feels justified in his frustrations about the Book of Boba Fett. But in the end, it wasn't a bad episode. It is interesting to see how the Kent family is handling Clark's absence. I think it's a bit unrealistic. It's clear when you see this that they miss him, but the episode then jumps forward 30 days in time with this crazy montage of moments where Lois and Jordan and Jonathan seem to be almost thriving while Clark is nowhere to be seen. And this just isn't reality. Families are created to have a mom and a dad. And the most powerful scenes in this episode are actually John Henry and Natalie struggling with the death and the absence of their Lois. And being a single parent family, I know it isn't unusual, and there are so many that are doing it with strength and grace, but it's not the way the family is intended to function. And we see that clearly in John Henry and in Natalie.
When he's watching the home videos,
exactly,
it breaks down. That was really tough.
But we don't see that with Clark and with Jonathan and Jordan, and that was another part of it that just didn't seem it didn't land to me. So anyway,
I for one cannot wait for the next episode and its setting. It seems fun and a different tone than what we've had before. So make sure to tune in on the CW network in a few weeks when they actually decide to return after their 3rd hiatus of the season.
Oh, nice. All right, good job, BB Nate. That was a good segment.
Appreciate it,
Sam. Thanks for speaking 3 times. All right.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I almost threw in you're my favorite, BB Nate, but that would make you feel uncomfortable, so I won't do that. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
The long-awaited Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga finally releases this week.
They almost developed a whole new trilogy in Star Wars before that happened. I think.
I finally get to relive my childhood through this.
Awesome.
And actually, it doesn't release this week. By the time you're hearing this, it's already
out. That's right. Yeah.
It's out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's out on Tuesday, so there we go.
Yeah, and Jared Leto says that Tron 3 could still be in the works. Yeah. It is still in the works. They're putting up the Flynn signs back up on the arcade that they film all the scenes in. So it's back.
Cool.
It's back.
Nice.
Happy birthday to one of the weirdest Star Wars games ever. Connect Star Wars.
Go.
Let's go.
And right now, Sam and Nate are going to go ahead and even though you can't hear it, they're going to demonstrate the dance moves.
No, we're not. But that is where 90% of my dance moves come from.
Which means they have no dance moves.
Yes,
All
exactly.
right. We talked about it at the opening of the show. We want you to tune in. I think you want to tune into this. Check out Friday's episode with Michael Uslan, the executive producer of Batman Returns, Batman and Robin.
Try to name them all.
Okay, I'm going to do this. All right. Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. Did I get them the wrong order?
Wrong order.
Okay, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah.
Wait, I got that flipped, didn't I?
No.
Okay. Justice League, both theatrical and Zack Snyder's, because, you know, you had to. And the Batman and every one of the animated Batman's movies that have ever been made.
That's like super difficult.
One of Nicolas Cage's best movies, National Treasure. All right.
Yeah.
And Constantine and Swamp Thing and a bunch of other stuff. Check it out. Thank you so much to the Heroes Journal. Make sure that you check out the link in our show notes so you can download the first act. Yeah. And join us in our fellowship along with Ricky and Luke and everybody else that's doing that right now. And check out all the different things that we've got going on that. And thank you so much for listening to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture podcast.
Yes. If you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and remember, this show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so if you liked it that much and you want to get even more involved, be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group. And then you can follow us on Twitter, too, to get in on all of the action, and you can keep up to date with everything we've got going on at TatooineSons.com, too.
I still love you, Sam.
Oh, thank you. I never doubted that.
I know. I
just doubted my ranking.
I don't have favorites.
Except Nathan.
No.
I'm kidding.
Don't. I love you both equally. All right, and don't forget to follow the show.
The slight hesitation there. Just, I love you both equally.
All right, don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss our next episode. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you review things in. Just please know that I was joking about all the things about please don't put nasty reviews on there because I'm a bad dad. All right. Anything else you amazing, wonderful sons would like to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.